Well, hi there. This is Pastor Ed Corbin. For 23 years, I lived in South Africa. Now, South Africa is an incredibly beautiful place. And when you think of Africa, you think of all the African animals, and South Africa has them all. For much of our time there, I lived out in the African bush. And so, out on a farm in the country, you have things there that you would never ever see in the city. One of the things that we had in South Africa, out in the bush, was monkeys. And so here I have a monkey with me here today. Man, I wish the monkeys that we had on our property looked as charming as this fellow does, for he looks like a really nice guy. But the monkeys that I ran into were anything but nice. As a matter of fact, we had vervet monkeys, and they ran in troops of 60 or 70 or even 80 monkeys, and they would come through the property and they would just destroy everything. So if you had fruit on the trees, they would eat all the fruit, and if you were trying to plant vegetables, these critters would come and eat all your vegetables. And we had roofs that were made of grass. It was called a thatched roof, and it's a very upmarket thing. It's like they have in resorts. They're very beautiful. But the monkeys would come and they would tear the grass out of the roofs and absolutely destroy them, which caused us to have to call in repairmen in order to fix the roof. And so whenever we would have Americans come over to work on our property, which was called Jackson's Ridge, and they would do repairs or they would do new building there, oh, they'd be so excited to see a monkey. Oh, they loved monkeys, and they wanted to get a photo of a monkey. I wish the monkeys were this adorable, but they were anything but. They loved the monkeys. We absolutely hated monkeys. So every once in a while, I would have to get my .22 rifle, and I would have to crack off a few rounds, and the gunfire would scare them away, and they might stay gone for a day or two or three before you had to do it again. It was about the only way that you could get them to leave your property and go somewhere else. You know, here in America, I grew up with some colloquialisms, which are terms that we use to describe things we know. They make sense to Americans, but they don't really make sense to anybody else, even if they know English. And one of those colloquialisms or little phrases we used was, why don't you quit monkeying around? Or, look, that looks as fun as a barrel of monkeys. Well, it's because monkeys are absolutely uncontrollable. And when monkeys are playing and fighting and eating, monkeys are just crazy. And so when somebody says, don't monkey around, well, they don't want you to act foolish or act silly, or they want you to just calm down. Would you please calm down, quit monkeying around, calm down, be good, be quiet. Many times I was told as a child, stop monkeying around. Stop that. Stop that. Little Eddie, stop that. Have you ever been told to stop that? Did you know that your behavior tells about your love for God? If you really love God, you're going to try to behave yourself. If you really love the Lord, you're going to try to be somewhat self-disciplined. You're not always going to be disobedient. And you know, we can tell a lot about you by the way that you act. Let me tell you what the Bible says about this. Here's my Frontier Bible that I've shown you before that's got all the beadwork on the front. When I open up my Bible and I turn to Proverbs, let me get there, chapter 20 and verse number 11, this is what it says. It says, even a child is known by his actions, by whether his conduct is pure and right. So how is your conduct? How are your actions? What do you do when your mother says, okay, it's time to go to bed? Stop what you're doing, put it down, put your toys away. Let's go get our teeth brushed and let's get ready for bed. What do you do when your mother or your father give you those instructions? Do you obey? Well, you're known by your conduct. And I would suggest today that your conduct not be like that of a monkey that is totally no control, no limits, absolutely nuts all of the time. Don't be that way. Show that you have self-control, that you do have limits, and that when your parents tell you to do something, you'll stop and you will obey. When you stop and obey, you show that you really have a love for your mom and dad and that you have a love for God. And so that's a little lesson from nature today, from the animal kingdom, about the monkeys. I suggest you not act like one. Rather, be controlled, be self-controlled, be disciplined, and have good behavior. Next time your parents tell you to do something, just do exactly what they ask you to do. That's my message for you today.